Today, new post from QAnon as freedom of speech is under attack. Alex Jones gets banned from all social media platforms, while at the same time we have Candace Owens out there being harassed by mobs of Antifa. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every episode starts the exact same way. I say thank you to all my subscribers, because without you guys it wouldn't be possible. If you have not hit that subscribe button already, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so that as soon as these videos get posted, you'll be notified, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. So we're going to pick up where we left off. So here's where we left off. If you guys want to get caught up to where we're at, come here to the landing page, watch this video, watch the last few videos. It'll catch you up on the latest few posts from Q and things that are just going to be pertinent to getting caught up. If you don't know what QAnon is and you're scratching your head, watch this video. It's a good video. It helps you figure out everything you need to know about Q, about the movement, how to get involved, how to do the research, all of that stuff. And even if you know what Q is, but you want to learn how to go to the boards, how to find the information, what the etiquette is, this kind of video is what explains all that. And share this with your friends too, because it's definitely got to keep spreading bigger and bigger. That's the whole point. So we talked about those in the last episode. Now, here we have Q updating his trip codes. And that in and of itself is nothing phenomenally out there. As we know, the trip codes are, what Q uses as a username on the board, the 8chan board. He can come and post as the same person without there being any question as to who. He's basically, they're the only ones who can post on the Anon board without being anonymous, unless you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. And you go over there and you read it, and this is just from the Patriots Fight board, which is a 8chan board. You can tell by the post numbers here. It's 118 and 119, which is like kind of a separate private board that only Q can post to. So that's cool. And then here's the newest and latest post from Q. So it's actually, it says, important to understand prior to next. And it's saying, I think, the next event. There's going to be something big coming out. And I think it's referring to the FISA documents, the 20 pages being released, right? First, we're going to read through it. These are two short documents, so I'm just going to read them to you guys, and I want you guys to use your own logical thinking to process them. But it says, U.S. House of Representatives Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Memo Key Points. So it says, overview of the process. The committee has made this memo public due to the American people's right to know this information. The committee, which is responsible for overseeing the activities of the intelligence community, hopes the publication of this information will help inform the public about abuses that have occurred at the DOJ and FBI and spur needed reform and accountability at those agencies so that similar abuses will not occur under any administration, Democrat or Republican. The government's surveillance capabilities are extraordinary powers that must be carefully circumscribed to protect American civil liberties. Any use of these powers for political purposes or any purpose other than defending the American people is intolerable. The decision to release the memo was procedurally sound in accordance with House and committee rules and included review by the executive branch and over 200 members of the House. It is in the public interest to release the memo, which was carefully crafted to safeguard national security. Key revelations from declassified memo. The Steele dossier formed an essential part of a FISA application targeting Carter Page. Former FBI Deputy Director McCabe confirmed that no surveillance warrant would have been sought from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court without the Steele dossier information. FBI and DOJ obtained from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court an initial warrant and 3 FISA renewals. Then FBI Director James Comey signed 3 FISA applications in question on behalf of the FBI, and former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed 1. Then Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, then Acting Deputy Attorney General Dana Boente, and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein each signed 1 or more FISA application on behalf of the DOJ. Steele was paid over $160,000 by the Democratic National Convention and Hillary for America Clinton campaign for his dossier. Neither the initial application in October 2016 nor any of the renewals disclose or reference the role of the DNC, Clinton campaign, or any party campaign in funding Steele's efforts. Even though the political origins of the Steele dossier were then known to senior DOJ and FBI officials. While the FISA application relied on Steele's past record of credible reporting on other unrelated matters, it ignored or concealed his anti-Trump financial and ideological motivations. Before, after, and after Steele was terminated as a source, he maintained contact with DOJ via then Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr. In September 2016, Steele told Orr he was, quote, was desperate that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president, unquote. Orr later relayed this evidence of Steele's bias to FBI, where it was recorded in official files but not included in any of the FISA applications. None of the FISA applications mentioned that the FBI had separately authorized payment to Steele for the dossier information. According to the head of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, Assistant Director Bill Priestap, corroboration of the Steele dossier was in its infancy at the time of the initial page FISA application. In early January 2017, Director Comey briefed President-elect Trump on a summary of the Steele dossier, a document he later described as salacious and unverified. The page FISA application incorrectly assesses that Steele did not directly provide information to Yahoo News. Steele has admitted in British court filings that he met with Yahoo News and several other outlets in September of 2016 at the direction of Fusion GPS. Perkins Coie, the law firm that hired Fusion GPS on behalf of the DNC and Clinton campaign, was aware of Steele's initial media contacts and hosted at least one meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2016 with Steele and Fusion GPS. Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS to assist in the cultivation of corruption or opposition research on Trump. Orr later provided the FBI with all of his wife's opposition research. The page FISA application paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign via Fusion GPS. The page FISA application also mentions information regarding fellow Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, but there is no evidence of any corruption or conspiracy between Page and Papadopoulos. Top 10 memo facts. Here we go. 1. The memo is not intended to undermine the special counsel. It is intended to expose past abuses of the FISA process at DOJ and FBI. 2. The memo is not intended to undermine the DOJ or the FBI. The House's fulfillment of its constitutional responsibilities enables effective constitutional oversight of those agencies. 3. The memo does not jeopardize national security. The careful release of formally classified information served the public interest, followed House rules, and included executive branch review. 4. The memo does not undermine FISA Section 702. It has nothing to do with the Section 702, which targets foreigners located overseas. 5. The memo does not contain any factual errors. FBI did not identify any factual errors during its review of this memo. 6. The memo does not result from cooperation with the White House. No one outside the House Intelligence Committee played any role in drafting the memo. 7. The memo is not a collection of partisan talking points. It lays out important facts for the American people about FISA abuses. 8. The memo is not the product of secret agency or changes. Minor edits were made before the vote to publicly release the memo, which was procedurally sound. 9. The memo was not a staff-driven exercise. All committee Republican members were engaged in the process that led to the memo. 10. The committee did not suppress the Democrats' memo. It voted unanimously to follow the same process for minority memos by first making it available to the House. And then it says memo edits here. HPSI, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, ranking member Adam Schiff has been a ceaseless opponent of the committee's attempts to collect and share information on FISA abuses. He even denounced the committee's issuance of subpoenas to the DOJ and FBI for information the agencies were withholding from congressional oversight. In a last-ditch effort to block publications of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence memo, ranking member Schiff issued a press release complaining about minor edits the committee made to the memo. The edits implemented before the House Permanent Committee voted to make the memo public included routine minor technical changes and edits suggested by the FBI and the committee minority themselves, respectively. Ranking member Schiff's press release was one in a long line of media stunts which meant to oppose transparency and stifle the committee's investigation of possible surveillance abuses by top officials at the FBI and DOJ. Okay, now here's the next document. This is a one-pager, and we're going to read through it too. Again, from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, we have the FISA Title I summary. It says Title I of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act governs the targeting of foreign powers or agents of foreign powers for electronic surveillance by the U.S. government. Agents of foreign powers can be either U.S. persons or non-U.S. persons. If the agent of a foreign power is a U.S. person, the government must show that the U.S. person is engaging in espionage, terrorism, or sabotage by or on behalf of a foreign power that involves a violation of criminal statute. Applications to target a U.S. person under Title I must be accompanied by a certification from a senior national security official, which may include the director or deputy director of the FBI. They must then be approved by the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, or the Assistant Attorney General for National Security. If one of those officials approves an application, it is then sent to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which consists of judges selected by the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court who serve on a rotating basis. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court decides whether to approve or deny an application based on whether the government has demonstrated probable cause to believe the proposed target is a foreign power or agent of a foreign power, and that the facility or place where the electronic surveillance will be directed is being used by the foreign power or agent of a foreign power. If the application is approved, the U.S. government can conduct electronic surveillance of the target for the period of time specified in the application. At the end of that time period, the government must stop surveilling the target unless it goes back to the court and applies to renew the surveillance. For targeted U.S. citizens, FISA applications must be renewed by the FISA court every 90 days with a separate finding of probable cause to continue surveillance. Title I is a different authority than Section 702, which Congress reauthorized several weeks ago. So that basically explains a lot here. Let's unpack all of that. I just wanted to go through both those because Q point in them is important to understand, and I just think they're important to hear and then kind of think about. You guys probably were able to take away a lot of it. This is all written in plain English. I don't need to explain it to you, but I can tell you, and I'll leave links to both these documents down in the description, but I can tell you right now, when you read through this, it basically paints the picture of the fact that we have the FBI working against the President of the United States with the DOJ to basically cover up for Hillary Clinton, and then to make this false hoax investigation of collusion into Trump in order to hinder him or get him removed altogether. And these are key points that are being given to us by the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence from the House of Representatives here. So these aren't just some nut jobs out in Looneyville. These are literally the people who we elected to put in office to go out and represent our best interests, who we elected to go and confront this kind of corruption head on and to reveal it and go right through it. But look, they planted Carter Page allegedly. They used that as an excuse to spy on President Trump. Now they're trying to say that they were just looking at Carter Page and why was he close to President Trump when there's no proof that there's any collusion or they got together or did anything at all. Now they're going after Paul Manafort for charges from 2003 or 6 or whatever for tax evasion, dealing with the same Ukrainian oligarchs that Robert Mueller's pictured in 2013 shaking hands with. So it just blows my mind. I don't know. You guys can read this for yourselves again, and you can take away what you want. But I mean, look, they paid the Democratic National Convention and Hillary's campaign paid Steele for this dossier, which they then used. The intelligence agencies then used this fake dossier to actually get a FISA judge to sign off on them surveilling the president. But then that's not even it. They had to renew that. So they had to go back with that same document, basically, and the same and everything they found after, and use that as the pretext to continue to spy on President Trump. So to me, this is all corrupt. There is nothing else to say besides pure corruption at the top, and right under the most high level of scrutiny for simply the fact that we're sitting here looking at this going, well, none of this looks kosher or good or on the level or whatever you want to call it. There's nothing good about what's going on here. Okay, there's nothing good. This is all about corruption. There's deep state officials. There's it goes all the way up to Obama, and it's beyond me. But here you have President Trump saying, he's quoting Dan Bongino here, saying collusion with Russia was very real. Hillary Clinton and her team 100% colluded with the Russians, and so did Adam Schiff, who was on tape trying to collude with what he thought was Russians to obtain compromising material on Donald John Trump. We also know that Hillary Clinton paid through a law firm, eventually Kremlin-connected sources to gather info on Donald Trump. Collusion is very real with Russia, but only with Hillary and the Democrats, and we should demand a full investigation. That's Dan Bongino. So, and now we have all this coming out. We have the Q basically saying, we have to understand certain things before we get this full redaction, and it's good to go through all of that. But that's what's being basically laid out for us. And, you have even here where this latest Judicial Watch FOIA request that came out talking about the conversations between Hillary's lawyers and the FBI leading up to this investigation and how they covered up everything, but allegedly, but they have all these pictures of the servers, and Q is pointing us to this saying, we have the servers. Well, yes, here they are. We have pictured evidence. Yes, here are the tags. Here are the servers. This is where the special access program allegedly was being kept off on private servers where any of our foreign adversaries could hack into and steal this information. And then, there's just a whole set of coincidences that lead to hundreds of millions of dollars being donated to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And here even you have, on Zero Hedge here, you have Trump actually being reported here today that he's going to override Rosenstein and declassify the remaining DOJ FISA docs. And why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he allow the FISA documents to be released in their entirety? Because, as we read in this whole memo from the House Committee on Select Committee on Intelligence, Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, it actually explains how there's no threat to national security with this information. The only threat is to the people who are involved at the highest levels who can be implicated for their personal crimes. Now, I want to listen to Tom Fitton real quick. He's a very smart guy, and if you guys don't know about Judicial Watch and Tom Fitton, go find him. He's been an advocate, him and his organization, for quite some time, trying to get to the truth, trying to get to the FISA FOIA requests, trying to do all that and getting it going in a good fashion. But here he explains exactly what we just talked about. And I think the way he explains it, some people like to hear different explanations. So I just want to share this one with you.
As a court, warrants that were issued against Carter Page corruptly. You may recall Devin Nunes' Intelligence Committee exposed and blew the whistle on those FISA warrants because at their heart was the Clinton DNC dossier created by Fusion GPS, a paid vendor of the Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee, who laundered money through the law firm Perkins Coie, paid Fusion GPS, who worked with Russian intelligence and Lord knows who else. They laundered that document into the Justice Department and the FBI, in part through Bruce Orr, whose wife worked at Fusion GPS, a vendor for the Clinton campaign. And they went to the FISA court and they said, we've got all this reason to investigate Carter Page. All this reason was the Clinton DNC dossier, because it was clear, according to the Intelligence Committee analysis, that there would have been no FISA application that would have been approved by the court but for the Clinton DNC dossier. And the court was never told about its origins, which would have called into question whether there was a legitimate basis for the warrant. So you have this corrupted spy operation, again, the Peter Strzok spy operation, Comey, McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, that whole gang, John Brennan, Susan Rice, all involved in the use of this Clinton DNC dossier, and yes, President Obama.
So there you have it. That clearly and concisely lays it out. This is what we want to investigate. This is what we're asking questions about. This is what we want the truth on. And, what's going on here is really crazy. Here's an anon who put this together in a genius way. And I want to read this full thing to you. It is so good. It ties everything about Clinton, Comey, Lois Lerner, Rod Rosenstein, and Robert Mueller, how they're all in their little corruption club and how they all came to be in their little, positions of power. So, and this is talking about an author of an article. This is the author of this article on what could be treasonous ties between Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Lois Lerner, Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller remains anonymous, though the material appeared to be well documented. Judy Byington says, let's follow the trail. Here's what it looks like when all the pieces are sewn together. It smells like conspiracy and treason. Every Everyone needs to read this slowly and patiently because it's very important. From 2001 to 2005, there was an ongoing investigation into the Clinton Foundation. A grand jury had been impaneled. Governments from around the world had donated to the charity. Yet, from 2001 to 2003, none of those donations to the Clinton Foundation were declared. Now, you would think that an honest investigator would be able to figure this out. Guess who took over the investigation in 2002? Bet you can't guess. None other than James Comey. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Guess who was transferred into the Internal Revenue Service to run the tax exemption branch of the FBI, or excuse me, the IRS? Your friend and mine, Lois Be on the Lookout Bolo Lerner. I love the way that they say that. So Lois Lerner was appointed to be the head of the tax exemption branch at the IRS. And that was Lois Lerner. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? It gets better. Well, not really. But this is all just a series of strange coincidences, right? Guess who ran the tax division inside the Department of Justice from 2001 to 2005? None other than the Assistant Attorney General of the United States, Rod Rosenstein. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Guess who was the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation during this time frame? I know, it's a miracle, just a coincidence, just an anomaly in statistics and chances, but it was Robert Mueller. What do all four casting characters have in common? They all were briefed and or were frontline investigators into the Clinton Foundation investigation. Now, that's just a coincidence, right? Now, these are the same people who are going after President Trump today. And it says, now that's just a coincidence, right? It says, okay, let's chalk the last one up to mere chance. Let's fast forward to 2009. James Comey leaves the Justice Department to go and cash in at Lockheed Martin, where he got a great job and he made a lot of money. Hillary Clinton is running the State Department on her own personal email server, by the way. The Uranium One issue comes to the attention of the Hillary. the Hillary. Like all good public servants do, looking out for America's best interests, she decides to support the decision and approve the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium to none other than the Russians. Now, you would think that this is a fairly straight up deal, except it wasn't. The people got absolutely nothing out of it. However, prior to the sales approval, none other than Bill Clinton goes to Moscow, gets paid $500,000 for a 1-hour speech, then meets with Vladimir Putin at his home for a few hours. Okay, no big deal, right? Well, not so fast. The FBI had a mole inside the money laundering and bribery scheme. Guess who was the FBI director during this time frame? Yep, Robert Mueller. He even delivered a uranium sample to Moscow in 2009. Guess who was handling that case within the Justice Department out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland? None other than Rod Rosenstein. Guess what happened to the informant? The Department of Justice placed a gag order on him and threatened to lock him up if he spoke out about it. How does 20% of the most strategic asset of the United States of America end up in Russian hands when the FBI has an informant, a mole, providing inside information to the FBI on the criminal enterprise? Guess what happened soon after the sale was approved? $145 million in quote-unquote donations made their way into the Clinton Foundation from entities directly connected to the Uranium One deal. Guess who was still at the Internal Revenue Service working the charitable division? None other than Lois Lerner. So I hope this ties together how they're all connected and how they've all been working for over a decade in different areas of the U.S. government in order to facilitate all of this corruption step by step, controlling their little circles, their little departments, so that they can actually set up a favorable system for the Clintons so they could sell our country out, allegedly, to every foreign adversary and even ally that we have, giving all of our top secret information, allowing China to steal what you could say is almost $1 trillion in intellectual property, I would say by now. At least hundreds of billions of dollars in intellectual property, not to mention the secret military information that was alleged to have been sold out, including what happened. Here's a question I have. What happened to the CIA assets in China? Were there CIA assets in China? Did they get sold down the river because their names and identities were allowed to be leaked, accidentally, hacked, or whatever you want to call it? These are very important questions that we have to answer, and we're going to keep asking these questions every day until we get answers, and then we're going to keep going. We're going to keep trying to expose the truth, expose what's actually going on and what they're trying to hide from us. Now, that pretty much covers all of that. Before we go, there's a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, this happened today. Alex Jones has been removed from YouTube. He's been removed from Apple and Facebook. And basically in a move that's straight out of the monopolies of Standard Oil and U.S. Steel, you have this man's entire social media presence removed almost overnight, or actually pretty much overnight here. And to me, I haven't heard any updates or seen if any of the channels or anything have been restored. But okay, so I know Alex Jones does not like Q. He's basically said stuff like Anonymous is going to expose Q and all this stuff, which I don't even know. It's like, you think about it, well, the Anons are working with Q. It's like, that wouldn't make any sense at all. But he keeps spouting off that, you know, he's the arbiter of truth, and he's the true patriot who knows everything. And, you know, God bless him. He's allowed to do that. And I want to stand up for his right to speak. I'm not going to stand here to represent his views. I'm not going to stand here because, you know, there's things I disagree with him on. There's things I agree with him on. But I'm not going to get into that here. What I'm going to get into is the simple First Amendment rights here that are being basically taken away from him by disallowing him to participate in these social media platforms. What they're ultimately doing is banning his ability to have free speech. And they've made up this category called hate speech, which to me is not real and doesn't supersede the First Amendment right we all have. You cannot just make up a term and then stand by it and say that it's applicable to remove people. That to me is a scary precedent that'll be set. And for me, I look at this as an ominous warning to myself and others like me who are on this channel on YouTube and trying to get on these social platforms and to have our voices heard and to start a conversation and to ask questions. Are we next? Are we the ones who are going to be banned for our wrong think? Are we going to be the next ones to have our books burned, our digital books burned, if you will? Because it's what it is. It's basically a book burning. They're trying to just remove dissenting opinion. And to me, that's the scariest and most ominous indicator that we are going into a very, very tough time where we're going to have to all stand up for one another, and we're going to have to stand up for each other's right to speak, and our shared First Amendment right, and globally our right to say what we want. It's a fundamental human right that was given to us by God, and it's protected here in the United States by the First Amendment. And to me, it's sick and it's sad to see these social media platforms acting like they are, or they can yield the ability to just remove people summarily without really going. Are we really asking themselves the hard question of, are they just restricting free speech based on their political views, differing from this man's political opinions? Now, I know that this guy's a controversial figure, and I know that you guys have a lot of opinions one way or the other about Alex Jones, but I certainly support his right to speak, as I support CNN's right to speak, because when they say foolish things, they make themselves look foolish. That, to me, helps people like us who follow the truth, who want to spread the truth, who want to have freedom of ideals. But it ultimately is not for me to say that they shouldn't be allowed to speak. And I hope nobody feels that way, because to me, we should all have the First Amendment right, at least to be platformed, even if you don't agree with us or you don't agree with the person who's being deplatformed. You should not be an advocate for them being removed, because it's a slippery slope. And let's be honest, next it'll be people who they just politically don't agree with, and people like myself and others could be just removed off air arbitrarily with no, in some kind of backroom meeting where they just say, oh, this person's not. We don't like this person's ideas. Let's get him off there. And then they control these platforms that are basically monopolies of social interaction and the public square. So, look, you guys say what you want, and I really would like to hear your comments down there. But I'm always going to stand up for the right to speak, and the freedom of speech in the First Amendment includes the freedom of the press. It includes the freedom of religion. And these are things that we all should be really, really worried about as we see them unfold. Just as we see here, this is a tweet I put out, and it's crazy. But you see these people, Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, they're outside, and Antifa attacks them. They're dumping water on them. They're using microphones and or bullhorns and yelling into their ear. And they're not even willing to have a discussion. They have gone into a frantic frenzy where they are literally just hyperbolically screaming and chanting like a bunch of brainwashed cultist zombies who are then directed by whoever's in charge of them to go and attack these people who are just basically two individuals speaking their mind. And this is the slippery slope that we're coming to, where they're attacking people who are just merely going out to have breakfast. That, to me, is beyond the pale of anything that we should ever accept. They called Candace Owens a smart and intellectual black woman who participates on Fox News all the time, has an incredible opinion, has a very thoughtful and well-spoken demeanor to her. They're calling her a white supremacist. I mean, the logic escapes me. These people need to go commit themselves to their local mental hospital because they don't understand the reality of the world. They're living in some fantasy bubble with their pink hair. They call President Trump deranged, where they show up wearing, a fairy outfit, and they have a full beard and a wand, and they're wearing a tutu, and they're in spandex leotards, and they're telling you that you're unstable and President Trump's unstable, and you're like, I'm all about freedom of whatever you're doing there, whatever that fairy outfit getup is, but if anyone's unstable, I think we all know who it is, right? That's just where I'll leave it. I wanted to bring that to your attention, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here. Now, if you're looking for a way to support the channel, the best way to do it is to come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way, as soon as these videos get posted, be notified. The second best way is to scroll down at the end of this video, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments, because like I say, at the end of each one of these videos, we have our own QAnon research board where we don't just talk about, QAnon, we talk about the mainstream media, we talk about what they won't cover. I want to hear your thoughts on what we covered today, because it's really important stuff, and that we talk about politics, culture, religion, everything in between. And even if you can't comment, scroll down and read through the comments, because I guarantee you're going to learn something that you didn't know. Now, here is a great thing. So if you guys want to help out the channel, before we get there, I guess, we'll start with Twitter. Come over here and find me on Twitter, okay? You can find me at Justin_formed, and I'm always trying to tweet and stay active over here, and I really appreciate all the help and love you guys give me on the other social media platforms, because I got to expand my presence so that, they can't just turn me off, you know what I mean? So the more of you come over here and follow, the more strength we give to our own voices to be heard, and that's all I'm doing is putting God first and uplifting others' voices to be heard, the questions that we want to have answered. Now, if you guys want to help, come find me at Justin_formed. A lot of cool stuff that I'm putting up here, just trying to keep up with all the crazy stuff that's going on this week, and it's only Monday. That's something Jack Posobiec pointed out on Twitter earlier, and it's true. It's only Monday, and we've had a lot happen. Now, if you want to support the channel, you can go over here to Patreon, patreon.com, and you can search Justin Form Talk. When you come here to this landing page, you want to click this button to become a patron. Now, today we're going to have a very special thank you, because if you come here and you contribute at the Silver Talk level, which a lot of you have been regularly, and I really appreciate it, you get to become a featured Patreon patron, which means I will mention your name at least once a month and say thank you to everyone who has done that. So today I want to thank everyone. And I'm going to mention all of your names really quickly. I want to say thank you to Anthony W., and this is for July. Anthony, I want to say thank you to Terry. I want to say thank you to Veronica, Ron, Carol, James, Eric, Shauna, John, Poncho, Frank, Arlene, Lori, Shannon, Gavin, Jamie, Jaime, Christine, Carolyn, Mark, Jason, Leonetta, Laura, Kaylee, Elaine, Robert, Matthew, and James. You guys rock, and you guys are truly helping keep this channel alive, and I'm so thankful to every one of you and your continued support, and that is what is going to make this channel continue to be successful, is support from guys like you out there, and I really thank you. And this is, again, if you guys want to come here and contribute, it's a monthly donation. If you don't want to do the monthly thing, please come over here and support the channel at gofundme.com/just-informed. I'll leave links down in the description, but truly, please come here if you want to give a one-time donation. That would make a big... Now, a quick announcement for those of you who are lucky enough to stick around to this point. Before we talk about what we always talk about at the end, the website is in development. I know you guys have been very patient, and I really appreciate that, but I've taken everything that you guys have given as far as inputs, and I'm trying to make a really great website. I have an incredible team of people working on it right now, people who I really, really trust, who I know are going to make a good product. Again, that's going to be justinformednews.com. justinformednews.com. Look for it. It's under construction right now, but if you guys want, I'll let you know as soon as the website is up and running. But let me just say right now that is going to be a great tool for you guys, and I can't wait to get it up and running. It's going to have news articles. I'm going to link to news articles. It's going to have all the videos on there. There's going to be a little devotional piece of scripture every day that we're going to talk about. It's just going to be a really great tool for you guys to go and use, where I can keep my content going, and I can also communicate better with you guys, the news of the day, so I don't have to make a video every time I want to tell you about stuff. I can just post articles, and you guys can go there and get that information for yourself. So look forward to that. Predicting in the next week or two, it should be done. And when it is, you guys will be the first to know, and I can't wait for you guys to go check it out once it's up and running. Right now, again, it's under construction, so bear with me as as it all happens. But when it comes together, it will be a great tool, I think. So thank you in advance to everybody who helped out to make that possible as well. So now I'm going to talk about, before we go, I'm going to talk about the incredible, awesome nature of God, God's grace. What is greater about God? How can we describe that? And then how can we take that and use it to understand ourselves and understand how, as servants of the Lord, everything that we do comes into question when we don't put God first in our lives, because then it comes down to what is your purpose in life, and what are you working toward? Because a lot of people work toward earthly things, work toward these things that only are here, material things that exist here in this world, right? They don't work toward that existential, eternal salvation that we've been given by the sacrifice of Christ on the cross, and that almost intangible reality to understand that there is there's another reality after this one that's going to be so much greater if we put our faith and devotion into the Lord. So we have to put our faith and devotion in the Lord every day in order to get there. And let's just read this. This is Psalm 19, verse 7 through 14. And these words, to me, are profound, but I want to share them with you. It says, "The instruction of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The testimony of the Lord is trustworthy, making the inexperienced wise. The precepts of the Lord are right, making the heart glad. The commandment of the Lord is radiant, making the eyes light up. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are reliable and altogether righteous. They are more desirable than gold, than an abundance of pure gold, and sweeter than honey dripping from the comb. In addition, your servant is warned by them. There is great reward in keeping them. Who perceives his unintentional sins? Cleanse me from my hidden faults. Moreover, keep your servant from willful sins. Do not let them rule over me. Then I will be innocent and cleansed from blatant rebellion. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Lord, my rock and my redeemer." And amen. I cannot think of a better way to put it myself. And I can only speak from personal experience, but what these words really represent to me is, as I've come to find the Lord, in my life at various times, it's always different how God will come into your life and show himself. But the one thing I know is that God is perfect. The Lord is perfect, and it does revive your soul. And that it can make the inexperienced wise. So there's a gift that is in God's wisdom if you seek it, if you look to God, if you read the Bible, if you follow the teachings, if you put yourself and humble yourself before the Lord, ask him to make you his humble servant, and then ask if he'll give you the courage and the strength and the wisdom to become the stronger person of Christ that you need to be, to spread his word, to share that great word of our Lord that can not just save your soul, but can save the souls of so many others who are out there who are lost. And that's what we're called to do. But it says at the end here, I think this is really good because, of course we know the Lord is more desirable than gold and honey and all of that. But it says, who perceives his unintentional sins? We all make mistakes. We're all not perfect. And a lot of the things we make mistakes in are unintentional. We don't mean to commit actions wrong against the Lord, but we do. And because we are imperfect, and that's just a part of our nature. And it says, Cleanse me from my hidden faults, things I can't even see are wrong with me right now, God. But then it says something even more important. It says, moreover, keep your servant from willful sins. So come into our hearts, Lord, and keep us from making the big mistakes and choosing evil over good. That's what we have to fight every day. And it's not just in our own hearts, it's helping others find that in their hearts, that God can come in and keep them from making those willful sins. And it's a question. It says, do not let them rule over me. So do not let my sins and my imperfection rule over my justness, rule over my goodness, rule over my kindness and my affirmation of my belief in Jesus Christ and the revelation that's come to me through that, in knowing that my eternal salvation has already been basically delivered, as long as I repent and seek God and live by the teachings that are offered here in the Bible and the teachings that we learn through our seeking God in prayer. And so that's basically where I'll leave it. But remember, if you guys haven't hit the subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And if you don't take anything else away from this episode, remember this one little verse. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Lord, my rock and redeemer. And I hope those words settle in with you, and that they comfort you to know that your words and your meditation and your seeking the Lord is what God will look at ultimately, and your deeds and actions and everything that'll follow subsequently from that. So the Lord is our rock and the Lord is the Redeemer. So we are very thankful and blessed for that. But that's going to be basically it for this episode. I want to say thank you all for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.